Everyone, welcome back to the Foresight panel. So we're going to speak with all of the kind of moderators from the last sessions and draw out some of the kind of key insights that we learned from the previous panel. So we're going to do overview of the results, try and connect some of the dots, connect some of the remarks, especially with kind of looking at AI data and robotics technology working together in unison, links to the strategic research, innovation and deployment agenda, and start to consider some of the key messages that have come from the conference and the sessions. So I'm going to welcome Ido Banzer from the University of Twente to the panel, and he's going to introduce the session and the participants.
Thanks, Philip. This is the last session already, and I'm sure we will have a nice discussion with the 6 persons in the Foresight panel. You know already most of them. It's Philip, of course, the Secretary General of Adra. Anna, the Secretary General of BDVA, is that's one of the founding organizations of Adra. Reinhard, Secretary General of E-Robotics, also one of the founding fathers of Adra. And Patrick, University of Helsinki and board member of Adra. So you saw them already early on the screen. Neil R. Frederik Heinz, Linköping University, old board member of Adra, and Kimo Rossi, the European Commission, the head of data research and innovation. Welcome everyone. And we will start with 3 short presentations with the main takeaways, the key messages, the lessons learned from the previous sessions. And I'd like to give the floor now to Philip. Philip, can you summarize the results of panel 1?
Thanks very much, Ido. So I have a few takeaways. So I think the first one that I'll start with is that there seems to be a tangible value in looking at the convergence of the 3 technologies and with the way that they work with one another and how they unlock opportunities in our kind of European context to develop another way of thinking of how we kind of support and develop how we kind of support and develop them that diverges from the rest of the world. Secondly, I think there is a question here around scale up, and I think in particular removing barriers around the kind of frictions and fragmentations of the context that we work in. But scale is really the only way that we're able to compete, I think, again, globally. Sustained public investments. So there needs to be, I think this comes back to the kind of fragmentation point, but it's sustained public investments. And I think those investments have to be coherent and focused. There needs to be a flexibility in the regulation to ensure that the technologies are actually able to innovate and flourish. There almost certainly needs to be, we need to put ourselves into a leadership role in Europe and move away from the follower mentality, but actually establish a kind of a new pathway of doing things. And then finally, this link between research and the market, I think that's something that absolutely has to be strengthened. And I just wonder whether this is certainly something that we could be thinking in the context of the new Research Innovation Framework Program as well. How do we make those public funds work better and stimulate more technology transfer and more kind of commercial outputs and applications? So those are my takeaways.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Philip. And then I'd like to give the floor to Anna. Anna, can you give a brief summary of what happens and the outcomes of table 2?
Yes, of course, Ido. And I hope you can hear me well. And our second session was related to AI, data and robotics and environment, and looking at this, this trade-off between using the technologies for for the environment to support applications that really make different sectors more efficient, or we optimize different processes, or just to do environment analysis, or optimizing resources in general. And the trade-off that we have with really the consumption, not only the energy consumption of these technologies, but also in general the effect that they have in the environment in the whole life cycle, from the usage of materials, recycling, water, and many others. So not only energy and CO2, that of course those are important. One important initial outcome that actually came from the keynote is that really the strategies that we need to build really towards the future, they need to combine, of course, aspects of sustainability by design, and I will touch on how this was addressed, and I know Petri will give us many more details of how this will be addressed, but also probably with certain control measures or regulations, education, a lot of education, because a lot of this comes to the usage side of the technologies, not the design and implementation of those, and they need to also work in collaboration. So collaboration actually came in with different angles in the discussion. We had two good examples of two verticals on the manufacturing and transport, and in transport was mainly on the railway transport. So of course, mobility, transport, and manufacturing are sectors that really require a lot of efficiency in general, and we got very good examples of how in these sectors they are utilizing data and robotics for efficiency, sustainability, and environmental aspects. So a lot of on the side of the goodness of these technologies on the application side. Also, it was nice to see that sectors like or transport ways as transportation ways as railways that are a bit more efficient per se, how they can really benefit and be more used because of this. That's from the sector's perspective. Then we had very good interventions from more the technological side. I will leave Petri to summarize his input. Actually, I will destroy a bit the script because he had very good strategies, but as he's in the panel, I prefer that he presents the summary of his own strategies. But just for instance, from the HPC perspective, we are aware that there are already many good projects coming, in process to help. But it's very interesting to see how the HPC community already by design, looking at how they organize hardware, how they look at connectivity, how they look at the different software stack of HPC, how they are really working in between the HPC and the other buildings in the city with the heating system, etc. I mean, they know this is very, very, they are very energy, let's say, consuming and resources consuming, but they are working a lot on this by design. We also had a very important input from the Elias project that actually work at and the AI sustainability. And in here we learned, actually we were given a lot of inputs in strategies on how to make AI more efficient, looking at the data side, starting with, and really more efficient ways to managing data, work with less data, as we know, also on the training side, but a lot on the usage side, and also in the needs to work more with the computing continuum and taking things to the edge. We also learned a lot, and there were summaries or outcomes that talk about the need to innovate and to use new AI methods and actually bring strong innovations that can scale. So we really need to make sure that we don't do small changes here and there, but actually there are major innovations that by scaling, they bring these benefits. And again, I have very good outcomes from Petri's input, but I think as Petri will provide his own input, I don't think it's polite for me to summarize his own input. So I will leave it to him for the next round. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Anna. First, I'd like to go to Reinhard and then maybe to Petri. Reinhard, can you give the summary of panel 3?
Okay, thanks, Ido. So we had quite a broad range of topics. It started with the importance why ADR technology is crucial for Europe and cannot just brought from outside Europe into it. And here it was clear that we need to develop our things because we have our own environment. We have especially a landscape with industry, a lot of SMEs, and this is also a lot of, let's say, physical-based AI and data and robotics technology that needs to be improved massively, even if also the other parts of the world see this need. Europe is still in a very strong position here. The discussion moved on to regulatory aspects, and here I would like to quote one of the key things in the from the panel, not from the panel, but from the introductory statement by the keynote speech. And here it was said it's a false debate to see there whether there is more innovation or ethics and regulation. So they shouldn't be contradictory. They should be something which comes together. And this is one of the key things that followed also a lot of the discussion around regulation and other aspects here. And of course, you all know that the AI office has just been started officially, and a lot depends on how the implementation is done. So the AI Act itself needs to be interpreted and put into the right context. And also things like sandboxes could play a major role in allowing for a good regulation which does not stifle innovation. This is one of the important things that need to be considered in this one here. And other aspects related also to socio-economic issues. So one thing was clear, that not even the regulation only, but also the practical implementation must be done in a non-biased, non-discriminatory way, so that everyone, the whole society and population is taken with it. But this is something where you need to find the right methods to bring everyone on board, and a lot of things depend on how to approach people. And if you want to regulate something, then there might be also a demand for market pull and seeing what the actual needs are, rather than technology push, which happened, for example, in the case of ChatGPT, roll it out and see what users do with it. And this is something which was also mentioned in a way. The discussion moved on. What is needed. Also, one of the statements was that you need to also get better access to data, and not only for other companies who make money out of it, but also for public administrations, for example, to be better able to deal with smarter cities and smarter governments, and just see which data could be used. In this context of data, it was not only the amount of data, but also the quality of data that has a high level of importance here. And so it's not just collecting like Facebook, but rather getting quality data for further usage. At the end, we covered also aspects like job market and additional ethical aspects. And it's clear that for the job market, it's not only the employees, but also the employer that need to be educated in order to use the modern technologies that are popping up now. And for public involvement, this is something where you need to early, even with the kids, start to communicate and to advertise what technology can do, but also making aware of the issues and risks. In some context, it was also mentioned that we need to be careful also with deepfakes, etc. So,
okay, thanks.
I think this is basically a summary of what happened in this panel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Reinhard. So it was a great discussion today. And for the following, for this session, please be brief, because there are a lot of things we can discuss with each other. So please come with brief, short answers and your opinion. But we saw several presentations demonstrating the effectiveness of ADR in helping to achieve organizations their net zero goals. And one of the elements panel one was also they stressed the importance of the convergence of the three technologies, ADR, AI, data, robotics. And the deployment of these technologies has greatly accelerated already in the past decade. And one of their recommendations was scaling of these technologies. Scaling is crucial. But what is then needed according to you to scale? Please, can you give a brief, short reaction about your opinion? And maybe I can start with Frederik. Frederik, we haven't seen you on the stage yet. Please, can you comment on that? What's needed for scaling according to you? And then I will go to Petri.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I mean, I fully agree. I think scaling is really one of the key things here. I mean, we see that in order to, I mean, if we compare to what's being done elsewhere, I think the difference is really in the order of scale. And I mean, I'm not sure I have that much to add in what has already been said. I mean, it's been said it's about fragmentation. I think that is, we have a tendency to split up our initiatives into several smaller initiatives. And therefore it becomes more difficult to really get this large scale initiative. So I think it's about how can we defragmentize our initiatives? How can we pool our resources? How can we ensure that we're actually able to put together and of course also pull off these larger and therefore larger scale initiatives?
Thanks, Frederik. Yeah, and when I'm thinking about business models, social acceptance, which steps are needed, that kind of stuff. Also, what maybe, Petri, you can say something about scalability. You have such a huge amount of contact with the industry.
Yeah, regarding scalability, one issue that came up in panel 2, by the way, yeah, Anna already brought up several interesting points, but maybe to add 2 about the scaling. As Fredrik said, we are behind in scaling, not in other matters. There's no secret sauce that the big tech has. We know how to build these models. Scaling is the issue, but like now I think, for example, it's interesting that I don't think AI Factory was mentioned in the morning, but it was like in the kind of between the lines, since like defragmentation, as Fredrik put it, like pooling together our resources, our data, and our talent and know-how. That's the key issue, how to bring these together. And my understanding is that AI Factory is aiming at this, and I think it's a right move. At the moment when this large-scale AI scaling up is the dominant paradigm, it's a wise move to keep investing in HPC and this pooling resources together with AI factories and such. But what I found, the second point, what I found very interesting in the morning, it was that if you look a little bit further in the future, what is going to happen in the next wave or the wave after the next wave? Many people were saying like it feels sometimes that, okay, we have lost the game since GPUs are manufactured by NVIDIA or AMD, the Americans. We don't have European GPUs. Maybe we can try to build some. But like to remind us all that if we take the holistic view of the full stack of AI from all the way from the real world, robots, sensors to data, to computing, to AI, there's a lot of hardware on the way, in the pipeline. The GPUs come at the last. So, and much of that hardware is actually European and will be, even more will be European. So I was surprised, like I mentioned in the chat in the morning, that I met some Nokia people yesterday, and I didn't know that they manufacture their own hardware. They have their own silicon. And I'm not sure Ericsson has the same. So these are 2 dominant players in that field. It's one piece of the chain, but like the game is not lost if we know how to take this holistic view and think more broadly. Okay, I stop there.
I agree 100% with you, Petri, but I agree 100% with you. The question is that needs also decision making. Someone has to decide, we go in that direction, not in that direction, and so on. Can you say something? Who will take this kind of decisions?
Yeah, that's
and the others can also answer when they have an idea.
Obviously, Adra together with the Commission will lead us to happiness.
Okay. Kimmo, do you have an idea? What is the role of the Commission in this?
First of all, commenting this, who takes the decision,
Yeah.
I think that it can only come from the market pressure and the needs. So what are actually the needs? So we should not make any artificial decision about, making it happen. We can try to create favorable conditions. That's what we can do. But I don't think that things will happen by decision, by grand decisions. Scaling up is very important and utterly necessary nowadays. When I think back of the older generations of funding programs, the EU projects cycles, where we typically were funding projects of sizes of 2 or 3 million euros and running for 2 years. And they came up with 3 cozy use cases with a handful of users in each of them. Very small case, the project ended, didn't make a major difference. In the best of the cases, there was a follow-up, partly by the same team or by some of the users. In rare cases, there was a business breakthrough from the result of the project. So obviously, scaling is where the idea is killed or where it continues to live. And it's not only technical scaling, it's also systemic scaling, and that's where we need to also learn to work with different communities, go outside our comfort zones. And it's like what this event is about, also to go outside only the AI community, to go to the other communities and get inspiration from there. We have some new instruments to help scaling up. We have the testing and experimentation facilities in the TEFs that we fund in the Digital Europe program for AI. We have, as Petri mentioned, the AI factories, which are also an opportunity for the AI data and robotics communities to work together. We have data spaces, so the common European data spaces that they need to scale up. So they are, by definition, must be in full scale, and they are no longer experiments. They are deployment of something real. And then finally, we have a new funding instrument, the EDIC, the European Digital Infrastructure Consortium. We have already 2 of them in motion. One in data language technologies, and the other one in smart cities and smart communities. And this was prominently present in the last panel, so I'm glad that it was mentioned, because the smart cities is already one of that is going strongly in the scaling up.
Yeah, Kimmo, thank you very much for those very useful remarks. And I'm certainly triggered by your systematic scaling, because for spin-offs and scaling up, we are quite often looking to the scalability of the technology. We are looking to the scalability of the business team, the scalability of the business model. And you add now the scalability of the system, the systems environment. And that means the cooperation with the others. So I will come back later to that, but it's indeed a very important element of scaling. Another thing, when I'm thinking about scaling up, it was mentioned, the robotic super integrator was mentioned as an important element in one of the tables. But at the same time, there was also a discussion about, no, we need more decentralized innovation approaches for AI to stimulate the SMEs and other things. So I'm curious to hear your opinion about that. Who can I give the floor? Just about the more centralized approach versus the more decentralized approach.
I think they are both needed, but for different things. So what we see is that if you want to develop these, say, more foundation models or the kind of next generation multimodal physics-grounded models and so on, there you need these large, coordinated, and therefore more centralized approaches. then I think what will happen in the next step is that you will see that now that we know how to build the really large models, we will see a lot of specializations. We will see that finding more energy efficient versions of that. We saw that in the initial keynote. We will probably see more distributed, more edge related implementations. I also think when it comes to more the market take-up and the market development, that will also be more decentralized and also much more not done in a centralized manner. And actually, I had one comment on Kimmo's, and actually it was this, that the market pressure should make the decisions. Actually, I would argue against that, because if the market pressure is going to decide, that means that we will have to already have developed the business models. And I think what you see with a lot of the kind of new technology that's being developed, it's actually developed without a clear business idea from the start. That, I mean, I think ChatGPT is a good example. I mean, they just developed it in hope, and of course, the expectation is that they will be able to develop the business models later on. But I would say that a lot of the most novel and innovative technology is come from someone that have an idea. This is something we really need to do, rather than being, that the market pressure is resulting in that.
Yeah, Frederick, and maybe I can also add something to it, because yes, the winning, we can earn a lot, but the place of investment is not always the place in the same chain where the returns ends up. So when you look to the whole chain, you invest in this place and the returns are coming in another place. And that seems to me to justify the governmental intervention. So who should pay then the investments? And are the companies now, is it the turn of the companies, the member states, or is it the European Commission or the joint consortium? What do you think, guys? What's your opinion about it?
I mean, my view, of course, is that we should do it together. I mean, I like this public-private partnership. So, I mean, I really think the Adra-e is a very good idea when it comes to this joining forces between the public funding together with the private funding. I do think we have an issue in Europe that companies are not investing enough, that there should be a bigger willingness and to invest. And I think that's something we are working on stimulating. So I think it's the combination, and of course we also need the member states to do it. And I think here there's also several aspects. There's one aspect is doing the innovation and the development, but then you actually need more the maintenance and just running these things. And there, I think the member states will have a very important role in being the stabilizing factor and being able to make sure that we have sustainability, that we actually can continue running these initiatives that maybe I have started either at the commission level or elsewhere, but where we need a long-term perspective. And there, I think the member states are the best for that.
Okay. Climate. Oh yeah, I see the hand of Petri. Petri.
Yeah, I was going to write something in the chat during the panel 3, but maybe I thought maybe I have a chance to say it now out aloud, since I think this Albert made a very good point. Just I want to bring that up now, that we are kind of confused now with a little bit with the large language models, and people seem to think that the data is always out there, free for grabs, but it's only the internet data that is out there. The most valuable data that we have, it's not public. And it's totally up to us now to decide, do we give it away for free for US big tech, and after that we have no hope and then we just pay? Or do we decide to do something ourselves? And like Kimmo mentioned, this data spaces and EDICs and all this, I think these are exactly the right instruments, and then bring them together with the AI factories and then do something great together. I think this is the right direction.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on what Kimmo was saying about the systematic scalability. Climate technologies rarely stand alone. They are often interconnected. So it's really, we are talking about a complex system in which often multiple technologies has to converge And that's then much more than only the converging of ADR, AI data robotics, but we also need all kinds of other technologies. So we are talking about an interconnected, complex ecosystem from a technological point of view, but at the same time, from a business perspective, the markets are also highly independent from each other. For electrical vehicles, for example, car manufacturers has to implement a lot of new technology to make the cars, to make those new cars, but at the same time, you need the charging stations along the highways. You need the new batteries and so on. So different domains are coming then together, and they must be matured at the same moment. You must offer them at the same moment. So we are really talking about whole ecosystems and interdependent markets, and that means cooperation across value chains. Are we organized well enough? We are happy that now AI data robotics are joining forces in Adra. It's great. We need also the others and the other technologies, but also the innovation change. So maybe the Secretary Generals of the 3 European organizations can say something about that. Anna, Philip, Reinhard.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very key question, and indeed, if we look first at the convergence of all these technologies, or the fact that now we need to use all these technologies, that's very true, and that's one of the complex aspects of talking about the scaling before, because everything is happening at the same time, and there are a lot of dependencies in between the different technologies. But going to your question. Definitely, there is a big shift, and that we have observed also working in the whole, let's say, data life cycle from the management to the AI side, to move from a more from a distributed ecosystem. So now more and more, we are building these ecosystems, and these ecosystems is actually to work to bring together all the players of the value chains, to interconnect different value chains, to make sure that different technology providers collaborate together. I think in that sense, for instance, the work that is been doing with the data spaces is quite critical, because at the end of the day, in a digital world, and when you want to build digital value chains, what you have to do is to really exchange data. And what the data spaces bring is the ecosystem perspective to this collaboration. And because we are working quite a lot, and we need to intensify now the collaboration between sectors, I think it's very, very important the work that we are doing in between interoperability between data spaces. And now bringing up maybe connection with something that Petri said before, actually strong talks and discussions and a lot of efforts are needed now to connect really, and he said that from the factory's perspective, I say from the data spaces perspective, to connect the data spaces to the what is called more and more the industrial foundation models, and in general to create these smaller models for industry that actually help different value chains and different industries more focused on their needs. And that's a bit to answer your question of the value chains, and I think how the different technologies are contributing to this interconnection between the value chains. But actually we see a strong transformation in manufacturing, but in all the different domains, and how these domains are actually being interconnected with each other. Big shift.
Okay, thanks, Anna. Anna, a reaction from Philip or from Reinhard?
Okay, I can do. So basically, I think the big players, they don't have a problem to access the whole ecosystem. They have a very good connection with their different departments. But I think especially for SMEs, it's crucial to get the right connectivity. And here we need to have the right places. The data spaces might be one thing, but also the digital innovation hubs and eddies might be a good opportunity to connect various technologies on a regional basis. But then this needs to also scale more across Europe, and I think this is, or even globally, and I think this is crucial. And here, the European Commission could also help to set up the right structures for this interconnectivity.
I think indeed in the region you see a lot of tech providers, and then at national scale the tech integrators, and then the end users are working globally or in Europe. So I agree that there's a role for the European Commission. But we are also talking about collaboration between AI data robotics technologies, and the organizations who are active in that domain with organizations in the more application domains. So that means different innovation ecosystems. And I know that EU Robotics and BDVA and also Adra are active in certain innovation ecosystems. But maybe, Philip, what kind of role can Adra play in this regard? The ADR knowledge is there, but are the application domains sufficiently connected? And how can we organize it at the European scale?
I think it's a big question, and I don't have all of the answers, so I will fully admit that up front. But I think if I can just reflect on the question a bit. So I think the question of convergence of the technologies coming together, that is happening already in certain contexts. So I mean, it's the point that was made right at the very beginning in panel 1. These huge, I mean, as they were termed, super integrators, they do vertical integration. They look at the problem from exactly this perspective. They take the whole software technology stack, and they basically acquire what they need. So, you know, in Europe, we don't have that mechanism to do that. And I think also there's a question here of how you kind of overcome some of the cultural and kind of behavioral barriers that come with kind of smashing 2 communities or 3 communities together that have different approaches, different working practices, different terminologies, definitions, etc. So I think arriving at a kind of settlement where things function efficiently is going to take a little bit of time. And all you can really do is continue to stimulate the community in a way that drives the collaboration and encourages dialogue, not just between ADR, but also across, you know, with technologies that go beyond. Because I think it seems fairly clear that, you know, there's a huge opportunity in making those connections, and there's huge value to be derived from that if it's done properly.
But within the different organizations, BDVA, EU Robotics, Adra, we have topic groups focusing on, for example, healthcare and AI and robotics. We have a topic group in all kinds, the agri-food, things like that. Are they only open for members, or can also end users participate in this kind of topic groups?
I mean, end users could absolutely participate in those topic groups, and it's something that we've been encouraging. But it is, you know, it does take a little bit of time to create the connectivity and to basically communicate and explain what you're doing to get useful interaction to come out of that.
Yeah. Okay. Another topic is when I'm looking to the technology development. When the tech development can lead to scientific or technology impact, economic impact is that requires additional elements, a solid business model, for example. But without social acceptance of technologies used, the broad social impact will be lacking. So you need a combination of tech development, business modeling, and social acceptance focus. And today, even regulation push was used. So not only tech push and market pull, but also regulation push. I like the discussion that we have to move away from the false debate on innovation versus ethics and regulation. That was mentioned in 2 panels. Move away from that debate. There was a plea for regulation that's flexible enough for the fast developing ADR technologies. Can you say something about that? Are we too strict compared to others, or is the present regulation helping us? And how do we need that combination, the cooperation between the makers of technology, and then I'm talking about companies and universities and the shapers, the business models, the ethical, the people looking to the ethical side, the social acceptance. So is it helping us enough? is giving us a competitive edge compared to the others? What's your opinion about that? When you combine the makers and shapers world or Tech and Else? Who can I give the floor?
Well, maybe I can say some.
Go ahead,
Someone,
Yeah, okay,
Philip,
Anna.
no, go ahead. It's just, it's a very difficult question the way you phrase it. So I guess we are all still thinking about this. Of course, I mean, all these different variables are needed. But I think, personally, I think we need to be driven by value. Sometimes we want to create very artificial business models, and we spend a lot of time talking about the possibility of the business models, and the time is gone. And I think at the end of the day, we focus the value for those ones that are producing the technology, the companies that are using it, and the value for society. I think if we are very value and impact oriented, things will come. Something I want to say related to the business models, because something that I wanted to mention about when we were talking about the scaling, and something that we don't do well. And so we create very good innovations in Europe at a smaller scale, but we are very bad in scaling those. And that's not only a question of business models, it's a question to look at our research innovation ecosystem from the lab to the market, and really making sure that we have the capabilities to scale those things that work. And there are many things that actually are not so related to business models, but more risk management. And we don't tend to risk and to fail. We don't like failing in Europe. And for some reasons, I think we haven't found the mechanisms to really make this life cycle work. And really, when we see these big innovations, to put them to give them the mechanisms, the right mechanisms to give them to make them growth. Still agreeing that these three aspects that you discuss are needed, and we need to keep working with the three of them. But I think that is not sufficient. We really need to work a lot and to build new collaborations between industry, research, and the policy making. And the ones that we have are insufficient. And we can find new ways of collaborating, because value of technology now everything goes very fast, and we need to find life cycles that, so a lot of investments in fundamental research and very quick life cycles towards the market when we start finding good innovations more in the collaborative research. And that for me is even more important than all the other things. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We started 5 minutes too late, but that means that we only have 2-3 minutes left.
I'll be very quick. I'll be very quick. I mean, I just wanted to respond to your comment, because I think it's a really, really challenging question. I think but it's one that we absolutely have to confront. And I think, to be fair, we don't know the answer yet. And I think it will really depend on the work that's going to be put in by the European Commission over the next few months and couple of years, and also the ability of kind of industry and society to engage with and be consulted on some of these elements. And I think that interplay is really, really important to make sure that whatever your regulation is, it is robust at the end, and it actually reflects real life, and that it's tested. And I think, it's the same as releasing any technology into society. You do it because you want the robustness. And I think, we just need to make sure that the interplay over the next couple of years, especially with the AI office, is one where there is a constant conversation and collaboration on whatever the kind of final version of the regulation, the secondary regulation, is going to be.
Okay, thanks, Philip. Yes. I've just. Is that someone else? Okay, my phone is it's a little strange. The sound computer is doing a strange thing. The last remark I want to make, and then I will quit. It's one of the remarks was also that we are focusing on what ADR can mean for other domains to lower their footprint. And in one of the panels, it was also discussed that we also have another challenge, our own footprint, decarbonization of the ADR itself. So it's not only about innovation with ADR to help others to decrease their carbon dioxide production, but at the same time innovation in ADR to improve our own systems. So really there's a challenge in two different directions. And that's the latest. I don't have time. The ladies are saying that here around me. So I have to quit. I give the floor back to Philip.
Okay,
so
thank you very much.
So,
all right, great. Okay, so I think we've come to the final few minutes of the event. I wanted to say firstly a huge thank you to all of our panelists, all of our moderators in particular, and all the colleagues involved at Adra-e that helped to support the organization of the event. I think it's led to some really, really interesting and dynamic conversations that we have no choice but to explore further. So I think at the very beginning, I did mention that this was the first iteration of this conference, and we do hope to run another event next year. Hopefully this time it will be in person, and it'll be good to get a bit of networking and in-person engagement with some of the speakers and participants who attended today.
Okay, so thank you very much once again. So can I say something? So, well, I really want to thank all the participants, those that are still online, and the speakers, the panelists, and also special thanks to the moderator for animating and helping to identify the challenges that will be, that's exactly what we wanted to have in this Convergence Summit. So we have some tracks about challenges regarding scaling innovation, involvement of citizens, this issue regarding regulation versus innovation, the trade-off between ambitions in AI, research, innovation, and energy consumption. And some tracks also were identified in my mind, like relying on the instruments that are currently supported by the Commission, like the TEF, the AI factories, and the data spaces, the EDIC. I remember that there was also some tracks about some suggestion made about this, the improvement of the connection between the SMEs and large groups to address a global market and not to stay at level of Europe. Better involvement of a better consideration of the life cycle and the circular economy, to also consider the development of AI, not only on the technology push aspect, but to be a solution to this maybe to this problem of trade-off between energy consumption and AI ambitions in research. So I think anyway, for me, this meeting was, and this summit, this first meeting was very positive, as it's also a demonstration that it is very worth to have this confrontation between different point of view of experts coming from different horizon in sectors, in different sectors like transport and manufacturing, and also from experts from ethics, from regulation, and also very thankful to the representative of the Commission to be there to also take part to this effort of this ADR partnership. The next steps of this, we will elaborate a document which summarizes this message and distribute it to the participants for some additional feedback in 1 month's time approximately, and then after consolidation we should distribute it as something which could represent a point of view, a consensus about the European community in AI, ADR research and innovation. One last word about the next Convergence Summit. So Philippe said it will be organized on site next year in June and in Brussels. So we'll keep you informed about the problematics, the socio-economic challenges that we will be chosen rather soon. Amongst the topics that we like to address are the quality of life of citizens at home, at work, in the city, towards a resilience of Europe is also something that we are considering. Aging of the population. So, well, that's anyway to be still decided. And I wish you anyway a good evening, and looking forward to seeing you all sometime and very soon. Bye-bye.